Give people hugs.
Oh, I'm going to hug you so hard.
Hug random strangers. Welcome to the Buckhorn Podcast. I am Martel, and with me always is Randy. What up, Randy?
What's going on?
Oh, nothing. We're doing another show with DJ. What up, DJ?
Hello.
It's the same day. We never even. It's just like 10 minutes later from last week's show.
We went downstairs and got water and took the leak, and we're back.
We're doing multiples with DJ because we got him in studio, and he's such a great.
You can just pretend I'm somebody else. I could just use my radio voice all day long.
Yeah.
No, let's not.
We got JD in the house. JD Bass.
JD Bass. This is
DJ's other brother.
We got JD Tilapia in the house.
So the bar that my dad hangs out with. So my name is Daryl. My dad's name is Daryl.
And this is my other brother, Daryl.
No, his best friend's name is Larry.
Every time, dude, that's what I think of when I see you.
No, his best friend's name is Larry. I can't even make that shit up. So like whenever we go to the bar, it's Larry, Daryl, and Daryl hanging out at it.
That's awesome.
So good.
You got your own sitcom. Especially since your dad's black and you're Irish.
Irie. It's not the same. Everything going to be Irie. It's the worst Jamaican accent ever.
I wasn't going to say it because I didn't want to be racist, but that was pretty bad.
One of these shows, I'll tell you, I went to Jamaica for my honeymoon. I'll tell you that story next time.
Oh, we'll get that on the next show.
Yeah.
So
to next week, we're going to do story time with DJ.
Yeah, next week's show is going to be good as well. So this week we are doing.
I like how you said as well as if you assume this is going to be a good show.
This is going to be a good show. All of our shows are good. It doesn't matter.
They're super shows.
They're amazing.
Hyper shows.
So we are.
They're just sports shows.
They're just sports shows.
They're just whatever. They're the Tercels of shows. They're just okay.
They're Tercels of shows, and then I barely fit in them. Like I don't really belong here.
So.
Although, I did like that you put up a poll for who has the better voice.
Yeah, you like that?
And my favorite part was, I wasn't going to say anything on Facebook, but Martel voted for himself.
I did.
And
hell yeah, I did.
I was like, that's akin to giving yourself a nickname. That's the same as liking your own post.
Oh, no, I absolutely voted for myself.
I voted for you. I think your voice is better.
You should have voted for yourself.
You know what's funny? The day you put that up, earlier in the day, Aaron jumped in chat box and said, Randy, I've been trying to listen to your podcast. I like what you guys have to say, and I'm really sorry, but Martel sounds like a giant douche.
It's and like he knows you.
And what was my reply? My reply was, well, he is, and he and I both know that.
Yeah.
He doesn't say he's not. He's like, this is who I am, and I do not care what you think.
Right.
Unapologetically douche-baggish.
Douchey douche.
Douche-baggery? I think that's why people listen.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. It's because I don't know. Why do people listen?
I don't know.
Somebody write on Facebook and let us know.
I thought we were just goofing around here. I mean, like, folks are going to hear this?
Sent me this file and...
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know if I can tell my story.
His wife came home one night and he had all these candles lit and flower petals led to the bed. Instead of music, he had the podcast episode of Christmas songs on. He had Dominique the donkey going, hey, baby, welcome home.
Hee-haw, hee-haw.
Yeah. He's up on the bed.
That was unfortunate.
So with that, yeah, that poll is going to run for another. Well, it'll be over by the time this show airs.
How many votes do you have versus mine?
So there's 14 votes total. Let's see.
I know you're in the lead.
I have 9 to your 5.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And so take me out. I have 8 to your 5 if we take mine away.
Dolly Parton, 9 to 5 going on.
Working 9 to 5.
If I had known that was what's going to kick off by that, I would have not said it.
9 to 5. Wait till you see me get my implants.
You don't need them.
What the hell would you need implants for?
Well, because my belly's huge. I want to be able to get them above, over my belly.
If you got lipo.
Oh, that's true.
Or you could just start working out.
And you would become less like the Solomon of poundage.
I kind of like that. I feel like that's my 1990s WWE name.
I start calling you Nefertiti.
Nefertiti? Oh, man.
Randy's going to be a WWE superstar.
Hell yeah, he is. Now that...
Solomon Grundy.
What's his name?
I just about spit water all over the microphone.
What's his name just passed away? He can take over his spot.
Oh, I'm not big in wrestling, but I know that one promoter.
Yeah.
Mean Gene Okerlund.
Yeah.
Mean Gene.
He wasn't the promoter. He was just one of the quote unquote.
He was an interviewer.
Sideline
Yeah.
reporters. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
He was the
was awesome.
comedic straight man.
He was awesome.
Well, I'm not comedic or straight, so.
We know.
Surprise, Beth. This will be the one show she listens to. I still don't think she's listened to a show yet.
That's all right.
An episode.
It's because she's got taste.
Liz has only
Well,
listened to an episode because I've played it in the car.
My wife has amazing taste in everything.
Except
She's made
you.
one mistake in her
Right.
life. That was saying yes. Got her.
Got him. Got him.
All right, what are we doing today?
So today I think we're going to do some news and some Urban Dictionary game.
Sounds.
And Randy is undefeated in this game.
I am, but here's the thing. DJ is going to be my most formidable opponent
Quite possibly.
because he is cut from the same cloth, just a smaller section of it. Like in the other side, it's a little darker.
Yeah. He's
But like as far as like my wit and stuff I talked about a couple weeks ago, DJ's probably got me beat. He's an intelligent guy and he's urban.
you're the white meat of the turkey and he's the dark meat of the turkey.
Try us both.
That was disgusting.
That just went full on like sex phone line.
That's-
Hey baby,
Dial 1-900
this is why I'm winning
if
the
you want
poll
to continue,
Randall
on Facebook.
press 3.
This is why I'm winning the poll.
For
on
now.
Facebook.
99 cents a minute.
I totally
Well, see, if that's
understand.
why, then that's unfair. Because you're saying who has the best voice, not who's the biggest idiot.
Well,
Like, I'm a
no,
moron.
it's the voice. It's the voice.
Oh, they don't like the sultry voice?
It's the sexy voice that you just tried to use.
DJ's face just said, I sure don't. I don't know if they do, but I am, like, hard pass. I am out.
I think that if you guys are comparing A, voices, and B, who's the bigger idiot, there's no winners in this competition.
Oh no,
No, we can define which one it is,
We're
but you're
all,
still a loser.
I mean, one of you guys might win, but everybody else is a loser.
oh yeah. They're
Especially the listeners.
the listeners are the losers in this one. So
If you're listening,
as far as news goes,
go away. It's over.
Glad we brought DJ on to
I
tell our
know.
listeners to stop.
stop listening. Don't listen to this.
Save yourself.
So Costco. We all love Costco.
Do
right?
we?
I don't know. Do we?
I know GW does because he got that 17-pound brisket from Costco for $2.99 a pound.
Okay. Well, Costco is selling a 27-pound bucket of mac and cheese.
Yes, I saw that. Buck shared that.
And apparently this 27-pound bucket of mac and cheese will last like a couple years.
So is it
Unopened.
dehydrate? Oh, is it like vacuum sealed then or
I
something?
guess.
Gotta be.
So
So that's more like a prepper thing. It's not like a, hey, I'm going to have this for dinner.
Well, I mean, even if it was a prepper thing, like,
it's 180 servings.
I mean, but like if it comes in one.
It's separated into pouches.
Okay, all right. Then it's more of a
Okay.
That's more of a prepper.
I see
thing.
where you're going, 'cause
I
I
was
was
like,
sitting
you
there going,
open it
yeah, you
one
still
time,
have
it's
to-
like I still have to eat 27 pounds of mac and cheese.
Oh, dude,
Before
my
it
stomach's
goes
turning still.
The unopened pouches have a shelf life of about 20 years.
Wow.
That makes more sense. See, I didn't actually read the article. I just saw that Buck shared, hey, they're selling buckets of mac and cheese.
Buckets of mac and cheese, yeah.
And then a buddy of his that I don't know said, do you think you and I can finish this in one sitting?
Well, that I mean, like that
they're
will
gonna
allow
tip this.
Buck to fulfill the dream that he's always had of actually bathing in macaroni and cheese
You're right. And it only costs you $90
for 27 pounds of mac and cheese.
for 27 pounds of mac and cheese.
That's not
Well-
That's 50 cents a serving.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Bucky here, and Bucky fits well into this group, so he'd probably need like $270 worth of mac and cheese to even
bathe
come
in it.
close.
Right. That's a lot of mac and cheese, though.
Oh, it's turning my stomach. I ate so much brisket last
So wait,
week.
well, no, hold on. Like, let me ask you a question. Is it like Velveeta shells and cheese, or is it like Kraft dinners with the powdered cheese, mac and cheese? Because
gotta-
I'm
powdered.
gonna go with it is pre-prepped packet of mac and cheese. You just throw it in the microwave and
heat
heat
it
that
Damn,
shit up.
I'm out. I'm out. That's I
Which
that
do you
stuff
prefer?
is.
Do you like the
The powdered stuff, man. Like
Really?
Ew,
anything,
no.
the Velveeta stuff. Like I eat that and I'm like, this is like too creamy. This feels bougie to me. Like I'm trying to have like
Well,
This
you're
tastes
ghetto as
too
hell.
good.
So
right. Like I
I
don't
I
know.
need to be
want-
able to, he wants to get that gristle on his teeth when he eats
Ugh,
cheese.
yeah, no, I want
Yeah,
the
for real.
I want the cheese
Like
pack.
where the powder's
I want-
not fully dissolved.
I want the noodles to be al
First off,
dente
let's-
as fuck. I want them to like
He's
stick
not even cooking
together.
DJ opens a pack, pours some hard noodles in a bowl, dumps the powder on it, and goes to town.
And butter. Like I don't
And then
really
he calls
even
it al
use. I don't
dente.
really even put the milk in. I just put like a little more butter. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
That is some ghetto mac and cheese. The only thing that would make that worse is if you had government cheese.
I mean, I had a
Look,
roommate.
if Kraft made government cheese mac and cheese, I would stock.
slam on it. I would buy 27 pounds of it at a time.
Government cheese is
The slam?
and like for the listeners, it's government cheese, but like we pronounce that government GUBIMNT, and it used to, for folks that were on like now it's called SNAP, used to be called like welfare. You could get food stamps back when they were like actually stamps, like they
Right.
had like and
You got your little book or
and when you
whatever.
got your book, they would also give you like some butter, some cheese, some milk. And some bread.
Yep.
Right.
The basics.
And the cheese came in a brick like the old school Velveeta.
Yeah, you had to have a cheese slicer.
Except that it was like the color of parchment, and it was hard. Like they called it,
It was hard.
It was brick. I
Yeah.
mean, you could use that to like
And the best thing
as
was
a door stopper.
build a garage, fend off an attacker. You had to use
you
a
could
damn.
forge a knife out of that.
You had to use a damn turkey carver to like cut a slice
The
off
electric
of
knife.
it. Right. But like, man, the grilled cheese sandwiches, boy. Whew, it's like you never had a better grilled cheese sandwich than one with government cheese. And it was like, I don't even think they called it cheese. I think they called it like processed.
No, it said cheese on the white
product.
box.
It said cheese.
Well,
Because back then they were allowed to label stuff whatever they
well,
wanted.
right, exactly.
There's no regulation.
The FDA was
Now
playing
the FDA's like,
fast and
hey,
loose
I mean,
back then.
You got to call them, like now Kraft calls them sandwich singles.
I-
Eventually, they don't even call it cheese.
I remember because I always wanted my mom to buy the white label stuff. There was just a white can
Yeah.
that said beans.
White label sounds
Yeah.
so fancy, and it's the exact opposite.
I know, and I want to start a company
It
just called
really
White
is.
Label.
It really is.
Just
I wanna-
white label.
Just white label. It's just
says
that's what it is.
Just
It's
said
it's a
beans.
white label. It's just
Like an
baked
Arial-
beans,
Arial bowl.
bread,
Right.
and just
That's right.
that's what it is. It's nothing
was-
fancy. And then I want to charge an arm and a leg for the shit.
You just gave an idea to all of our listeners.
Intellectual property. It's recorded. They
You know, it's
can't take
funny.
it now.
Like you never really forget like where you came from, right? And I a few years
mother's-
back,
we used to go to
Vajayjay.
Foodland.
I got a really awesome job down in Texas. Moved down there, was making really, really great money. And one night I just kind of got a hankering for like ramen noodles and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so,
Back to the roots.
being an adult means that like you can eat whatever you want whenever you want. And so I went to the store, I got me some ramen noodles, got me some sundries, and came home, had a bowl of ramen noodles, and
Now, did you do anything to your ramen noodles, or
Peter-
did you just fix them the
nope,
way
I
they
just
were?
fixed them the way they were. I didn't doctor them. Put a little hot sauce in them, but like other than that, and then like I took a picture and like put it on Facebook, and I was like Throwback Thursday, right? Like remembering my roots. And my dad actually saw this and called me, and I was like, "What's up?" And he was like, "Son, you make money now. You have
Stop.
a good job. You don't have to eat peanut butter and jelly and ramen noodles anymore. Like you could have like you make more money than me. You could go get a steak or some lobster or something." And I was like,
You're in Texas, man. They got
like,
great
man.
food there.
"Yeah, I know, but
You know what one of my favorite meals Beth makes is? It's macaroni noodles. Like you just get the box of the
Yeah.
pasta noodles
You get the elbow
and
macaroni.
scrambled eggs. It is one of the cheapest meals. That's the same face. Martell just made a face. I had that same reaction when she first told me. She's like, my grandma made this like coming up through the Depression.
You
It's
probably
one of
put
those-
ketchup on it too, don't you?
Sometimes, but salt and pepper.
I like ketchup on my eggs too.
But I don't put a lot on it. But just the elbow macaroni and scrambled eggs together with a little salt and a little pepper is way better than I expected.
See, I do elbow macaroni and some tomatoes.
We've done that.
Tomato soup.
Yeah.
We've done tomato
Yeah.
macaroni. Just like you cut up a tomato, cook it up.
You
like in a
dip,
pan?
you get the grilled cheese with the tomato soup and dip it in the tomato
Oh,
soup.
yeah,
and I do
absolutely.
that.
And
Okay.
in chicken noodle soup,
Absolutely.
do the same
I
thing.
don't,
Chicken noodle soup.
I don't make my like with the tomato soup. I get the condensed stuff. I don't put much, if any, milk in it. I'll put a little water in it and some butter,
and that's it.
and that's it. Like
Yeah.
one can of tomato soup makes one bowl of soup for me.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm
yeah.
not like, oh hey, I made this
Hey, I made
condensed
this
soup and it's
for
for 5
everybody.
people. It's like
That's fascinating. I'm learning so much
You
about
could
you today.
almost eat it with a fork. It's
I was
funny
going to
what
say, you have to chew your soup.
it's funny what
I wish Garrett was here right now.
what
He's not
parts
allowed
of
back on
like
the show.
my heritage like the two sides of my heritage like I've picked up and I've not picked up. So like
Like
you
the
know,
yin and yang.
like
literally
I
the
put,
white and black hats.
I put hot sauce and ketchup on my scrambled eggs.
I'm with you.
Which is very ethnic.
I put hot sauce
But-
on my eggs.
I eat my steaks medium rare and I don't put shit on them, which is not very ethnic.
True.
So like
I eat my steak medium.
right. So
I'll eat them rare.
Today,
I order them
learned
rare.
That apparently I eat ethnic. I didn't know that. That's just how I've always eaten.
Yeah, I
Maybe-
order my steaks rare.
Is it ethnic or is it a poor thing? Like all our food's bland, so we put hot sauce on it or ketchup on it. Like,
well, I mean like
either way, that's how I eat it.
yeah. I mean it could be
Both.
both. I've only got my own experience, so
Yeah, see, I don't put ketchup on anything unless it's fries.
yeah.
Fries,
I
that's
put
it.
ketchup on a lot of things.
I don't. Ketchup to me is not. That's a yummy thing. And then I grew up.
So you don't put it on hot dogs. You don't put it
Ketchup
on,
is how they
Nope.
make things
Burgers.
tolerable for
Nope.
kids.
What about mustard?
Mustard goes on burgers, and it's not yellow mustard because I grew up. It's spicy mustard.
You're so
brown.
bougie.
It's brown mustard.
Racist.
Yeah.
It's
African
stadium
American
mustard.
He'll be over
Honey
here like-
mustard is the worst thing you could
You
possibly
just said
eat.
stadium mustard. Isn't that just yellow mustard?
No.
No.
It's like mustard. It's like gray mustard with horseradish in it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
really
I'm
good.
not a big
Yeah.
mustard fan.
Honey mustard is disgusting.
You're wrong. You are so incorrect.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
No, that's just a me thing.
Yeah.
Okay, at least you can admit that because honey mustard, like,
No, I just don't
I
like
love
honey
honey
mustard.
He would probably like ketchup if they made a Dijon version.
Nope.
the fancy ketchup
Dijon ketchup.
from New York City.
Get the rope.
That's salsa. I'm even a salsa snob. I won't eat salsa out of a jar.
You're just a snob.
No, it's just it's a taste thing. I don't. I prefer to make my own salsa.
Martel be pulling up to you in his S5 like, pardon me,
Pardon me.
you have any Grey Poupon? And somebody be like, but of course. I'm like,
But of
hit him
course.
with a snowball or something. Get out of my face with that shit.
But no.
You want me to do what on your what? Ain't nobody around here knows what Grey Poupon is.
Well,
I even make my own cocktail sauce.
I mean, but that's easy. It's like, I mean, it's ketchup and horseradish.
Let's ketchup and horseradish with some lime juice and some Worcestershire.
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 It's
Worcestershire.
Chestershire.
Nope.
Minfield.
It's Worcestershire.
Lean parents. Lun parents.
Y'all ain't crazy.
I can't pronounce shit.
You know what
Anyway.
my favorite seasoning is? That Lowry's, because it's
Oh,
like
Lowry's.
seasoned salt.
I love it, but we were just talking about the way you pronounce stuff. But you hear Lowry's pronounced so many different ways.
Yeah.
Are you talking about?
Lowry's.
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 We always said
Lowry's.
Lowry. Yeah, that's
Laurel.
Mike Lowry.
King Dingaling. I'll put it on your forehead.
All right, what's our next news article? Before you start passing out mushroom
Like,
tattoos.
It's just the show of nothing but tangents today. I apologize.
All right,
It's
the next
probably
one.
My fault.
And I'm for this. I like this one. So I like this one, but I hate the next article after this. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. So I'll read you the headline only because I don't care actually about anything else other than this headline. Sheriff uses cardboard deputies to fight crime.
Oh, I've heard this story. I actually saw
So
that.
it's-
Cardboard, like Barney Fife cardboard cutout.
So no, he's using basically life-size fathead cardboard cutouts of
Right.
of sheriff's deputies, of his sheriff's deputies holding radar guns,
Like, stood
and
up
just
and-
sticking them in yards,
Yeah, so when you're driving by,
It
you
just looks like a
see
guy-
this dude pointing a radar gun at you.
pointing a radar gun at you.
yeah.
So what do you got? What are your guys' thoughts on
I
that?
think that's brilliant.
I think it's absolutely brilliant.
I think it's a waste of taxpayer money.
Okay,
Well, like, I mean,
If
I think it's creative use of
it's
taxpayer
creative
money.
use.
It's
So
creative, but is it effective? And honestly, how long does it last? The minute everybody knows it's cardboard cutouts, they look and go, "Oh, it's a cardboard cutout."
Look, man,
And
if you
they
kick
kick it over, they spray paint it.
Sure, if you move them around like every day, every other
Right.
day, right?
They're
Like,
cardboard.
Yes, but
Outside.
that's the point.
Look, if you see the guy, like
if you see a cop that looks real standing on the
So
side
you're
of the
saying
road,
that it would make
from
people
150
think
yards,
maybe
Yeah.
it's not a cop, then it really is. Then they get busted.
right?
Like just
it's
have
a
like
more of
every
a
now and then
decoy
there's
thing.
like one dude. This is like it's like that old game like what was the game like Scotland Yard where there was like 5 decoys and one real one, and they all shuffled every day, and you had to like hope that you
Figure
didn't
out which one's
run
real.
into the
Yeah.
real one.
So
I mean,
I'm for
whatever.
this.
I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I think it's funny.
I don't know, and so
Kind of dumb funny, but
I didn't read through the article. I don't know if this is the same sheriff that makes his inmates wear pink striped uniforms while they're
that
out
guy
picking up.
retired. I think that's
that the guy from Arizona?
I always call him Arapaho, but that's not how you pronounce it.
So it's not the same guy then. So I am absolutely for this. I love this idea because I don't think it's a waste of taxpayer money because it doesn't cost that much to go out and have a cardboard cutout done to try to slow people down in a high traffic area.
So
yeah, fair enough.
There's a guy, so like right around the corner from where I live up in Marion, there's a police officer, a sheriff's deputy that lives in a house.
I think that's where most of them
he
live.
He parks his deputy's vehicle at the end of his driveway.
Okay.
He's not in it. Like he's inside eating dinner or he's at bed or something, but he doesn't pull it all the way in. I mean, he's got kind of a longish driveway.
Right.
He leaves it parked at the end of the driveway because you're driving down that street and you see a cop car parked there. What do you do? You slow down. He's not ticketing anybody.
I would say he's not
ticketing. So I have two thoughts about that. And it goes one of two ways. One way is I think it's a good idea because it's going to slow people down. On the other hand, doing that is kind of putting him at risk for certain things.
Like rape.
No.
Oh.
But it makes him a target for certain people to maybe try to assault his house or potentially him.
Yeah,
by advertising that he is a sheriff's deputy.
Well, you see sheriff's cars in driveways all the time.
Yeah, I know, but he's.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing. As a kid, if I was going to TP somebody's house as a friend, I don't go to the sheriff's deputy and be like, let's hit that guy.
Look, I'm from the hood.
Well,
like, if there was a cop living in my hood, he would have the cleanest yard because we'd be over there like, nope, not touching that.
Right. So
they're picking stuff up out of the yard.
Right.
I have a friend who is a sheriff's deputy, and when he does not patrol with a car. He's an undercover. Mm-hmm. He does not patrol with a car, and when he does have a car, he parks that shit. He hides his patrol car.
If he's undercover. Like he means like no, he doesn't want people to know.
He doesn't want anybody to know that he's a
totally
deputy. He hides that thing. He does not want anybody to know that car is around.
Right.
Makes complete sense.
I get what he's trying to do, and that's fine. I don't see anything wrong with that if he's still in his drive, not out in the road.
Right.
Well, even if he parked it on the street.
Depending, but it's a country road, right?
It's not.
But
it's
kind of rural
in Marion, but it's not a
park on the street.
It's not a road that you can park on the street. The speed limit's like 45. So
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I was just going to say you can't ticket from the driveway. I don't think you can legally do that.
Like I don't know if you can or not. I don't. But
I could be wrong.
The intention, right, is not to actually ticket people. But to just like, hey, y'all, if you don't know that I live here, you're going to drive down this road and be like, oh shit.
So the next one.
Can I just read you one headline that I just got the other day?
Sure.
Just going to read the headline. Have not read the article. Same thing.
Yeah, that's usually how I base all my opinions.
We don't like to be informed here.
Well, on this one, the title pretty much says it all. And let me tell you what it says here, DJ. Man eats girlfriend's booty for the first time, dies from E. coli.
That is gross.
Wow, that guy's really unlucky.
That's all I got. Let's go to the next one.
That's like the people that lost my virginity, got pregnant. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh man, it's so like that's
like the first shot.
He should go buy a lotto ticket.
That is definitely.
No, he's dead.
It's a good thing that dude never tried like skydiving or anything.
Oh, that's moving on. That's disgusting. So this one,
I like that it said booty.
Yeah, the way it was written for an article to be published online was great.
God, that's so.
And that was one of those things that just like popped up as you're scrolling through Facebook or something. It was just right there. Like I had to save it just for this.
That's bad.
If that's something that you're gonna do, like take some wet wipes with you, like something. I mean, you need to
take it.
If you're going to have dinner, just start with a clean plate. Right, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like, make sure that you
enema.
The dining area has been cleaned. Right? Like you don't want.
I'm with you. No, I'm with you. That's why I had to read this because I knew, especially with DJ here, we get.
That's why they tell you, like, hey, like, make sure that you cook it to an internal temperature of X, or else you might die.
Or make sure that you might get coli.
You might catch a worm.
Make sure that your chitlins are prepared before you eat them.
Oh, I'm so tired.
Oh, gross.
Coffee did not kick in.
All right, so this next article is, like I said, one I'm for, one I'm against. Firefighter fakes blaze at his own house so that he can propose to his girlfriend.
No.
All right. This one, so I'm all for the cardboard cutouts. This one's a waste of taxpayer money.
Okay, what's the fake blaze?
Right, exactly. Like, can we talk? Did I
actually
set something on fire?
Again, no, it's just a call. So it's
it dispatched the
fire department to his own house for a proposal. This one,
if he paid for it,
if he's paying for the gas in the truck, he pays for
water used to wash that truck because they have to wash it every time it rolls out.
Right.
If he
this
pays for
one
the time of the other guys that drove it there,
is a waste of taxpayer money. This one I don't like. Like, I'm all for him proposing to his girlfriend.
I don't like it, period, because I don't even understand how was he on the truck that rolled up?
Yeah.
And she was at home?
Yeah.
Wouldn't she know, like, the hell are you doing here? The house isn't on fire.
Again,
I don't get the logistics of it.
So let me read through this real quick.
So while you're reading, let me just go ahead and say that, like, the church that I went to prior to my wife becoming a pastor, they finished paying off the mortgage. And so, like, the church kind of had, like, a big, like, hey, we finished the mortgage and we're going to burn that note in front of everybody.
Shut up.
And
in the church.
Well, they had a big, they like a big pot, and it's just a piece of paper. Yeah, so it's like not like it was ever going to like catch anything else on fire, but it did produce just enough smoke so that the smoke alarms called the fire department.
That's awesome.
And what was funny? Now, what's funny was that, like, the fire marshal was already in the building because
this guy is a dick.
The pastor called him and said, "Hey, we're going to do this," and the fire marshal was like, "Well, cool. Somebody has to be there, but I'll be there. I'll be there myself." And so, like,
so he knows
they kind of like made it into a thing where the pastor lit it on fire, and then they threw it into this big pot, and it like burned for a little bit, and then the fire marshal walks over with an extinguisher and is like, and like,
and
it's everywhere, all over the place. But of course, like. So we go, and it's a silent alarm, so everybody's like, yay, that's great, we paid off the mortgage. And then, like, the pastor starts into his sermon, and, like, we're halfway through the sermon, and we hear sirens, and, like, all of the fire trucks show up. And the fire marshal's looking at the pastor, and the pastor's looking at the fire marshal like, is this wasn't part of the plan? And the guys come in, and they're full on decked out, and they're like, is everything all right in here? And the fire marshal's like, why are you here? Like, we got an alarm.
Right.
We said that there was a fire.
We're doing our job.
The fire marshal.
That's awesome.
So, like, we all just start laughing. Everybody, like, there's 400 people in the church, and we're all cracking up because it's like, I can't even believe that, like, this. Well, no fear, folks. The fire alarms are extra sensitive.
They work.
It's like, hopefully we don't ever try to cook anything in this church. Like, the cops, the fire department just show up. So
nice. Hey, at least everything works.
Well, right, exactly. So we feel very safe in this place.
Nice. Now. So this guy is a dick.
Yeah, you said that.
I know. So he put 4 like smoke machines in the attic, or 6 smoke machines in the attic.
Oh, shut up! So he
set a prank,
totally simulating the fire
to simulate so that she would call.
Plot twist, they really set the attic on fire and burned the house
down. So what it was is they weren't supposed to, they were only supposed to put out so much smoke.
Right.
He overdid it.
Of course he did, because he put 4 in the attic in one house.
Clearly this dude is a little bit extra.
Yeah, so he put 6 of these things, he tested it out, he put 6 of these smoke machines in the attic. It was more, and then he tested them, he's like, well, I wasn't happy with it, whatever. She calls, he shows up, pulls off the mask, and that's when she realized that, again, wasted taxpayer money. So I'm not for this one. I hate everything about what this guy did.
It's my understanding that, like, I know with alarm systems, right? If your ADT alarm system goes off, they call you. ADT calls you.
Yeah, my alarm system calls me.
And if they can't get in touch with you, then they send the cops.
They just dispatch.
And if they send the cops and there ain't nothing going on, then you get a bill.
Yep.
And, like, maybe not the first time, but if it happens more than once in, like, a 6 or 8 month period or something, you get a bill. Mm-hmm. And so I would have to imagine that the fire department works in a similar way. If they come, if they get called out to your place and there isn't anything going on, then you're like, we're sending you the bill for this because you're wasting our time.
I don't know. I mean, if somebody called and said there's a fire and they showed them there's not a fire, yeah.
Yeah.
But if they show up because of a church alarm, silent alarm going off, like, did the church get charged for that? So you're saying if somebody calls them, says I got a fire, they show up, there's no fire.
If somebody calls 911 and they dispatch the
fire department
to your crib and there ain't nothing going on, and like you were the one that called them, I'm pretty sure you're getting a bill for that.
Yeah.
And I may be wrong, and that might be provincially determined, like depending upon like where you're at in America.
This is a whole setup thing that
Sure.
everybody knows that he's showing up. Like the only person who doesn't know is the fiance.
I would hope that,
but
he paid for that.
I hope he paid for it. He's going to pay for it for life.
I don't think it's look. If you want to be, that dude that's like on the doing too much countdown, like that's cool, man. And like look, you're only supposed to get engaged once, and that's special, and you want it to be a big deal, and you're a firefighter, and like that's kind of like your shtick, man. I get it, and I'm like, okay, cool. Do something extra. That's all right, but like, don't expect the rest of the town to pick up the tab.
I'm not for that. I hope Ventura County or Ventura, California.
The rest of the tab to pick up the rest of the town to pick up the tab for cardboard cutouts either. Diesel
agrees.
We both said agreed. He said he does not agree.
He does not agree with that.
He's like, I'm gonna eat me some
I think he just wants us all to eat. That was just y'all shut up. I'm trying to sleep.
That might have been my
all right. Yeah.
All right. So
I'm with you on that though. If he did that and did not have to pay, zero donuts.
Yeah.
Zero donuts.
So zero.
All right. So last one. This one I found kind of humorous. So a family put a Ring doorbell.
Right, with a camera.
They installed the Ring doorbell. And a guy
yes, I know you're
came up and licked their Ring doorbell.
Oh, I heard about
for
this,
3 hours.
Not just licked it. Made out with it for 3 hours.
Made out.
And you know what it immediately reminded me of? And Happy Gilmore at the beginning when his girlfriend leaves. And he's on the intercom like licking it. He's like, I want to kiss you all over. He's like licking the whole intercom. The Asian lady shows up.
Say like the Asian landlord shows up and he's like, shrugs like, okay.
Oh, apparently he was also caught urinating on the front lawn.
Yeah, I was going to say, there were some other things that went on there too. I heard this on my way into work
pissing
yesterday.
in my front yard and licking my doorbell for 3 hours, I'd rather you just piss in my yard and leave.
Right.
He also faces charges for petty theft, prowling. Petty theft and prowling.
How's it theft?
I bet he stole something. Who knows? Maybe he stole the lawn jockey.
Yeah.
He took a garden gnome with him.
Look, if you're stealing the lawn jockey, I'm for it. I hate lawn jockeys.
Why?
Because you're half lawn jockey?
Exactly. That's such a monument to racism. Like, do you understand what a lawn jockey is?
Yes, I mean, I'm just thinking of the statue. I'm not thinking of, okay, I get what you're saying.
Like,
I'm just thinking of people having random statues in their gardens or something. Like, I hate garden decor.
No, I specifically picked lawn jockey.
If
you steal somebody's lawn jockey or piss on it, then I'm like, you get my vote. But man, if you steal my concrete goose, there's going to be fights.
I decorate that for every holiday,
right, man.
He's got a nice little raincoat for the spring.
Dude, I had a buddy back in one of my good friends in the 90s. His mom had her own business. This was before Etsy was a thing and the internet was a thing, and that's what she did. She like made clothes for the concrete geese. And she made good money thousands of dollars a year doing
crocheting.
All right,
just like knitting, putting little outfits so you could dress up your goose like Santa Claus or a cheerleader.
Okay, so
or like Hulk Hogan.
Just because we like the urban, I've never seen the Hulk Hogan one. I looked up the definition of lawn jockey on Urban Dictionary just now, just in case people don't understand. Should I read it? Just to educate.
Hey.
So there's a couple definitions. Lawn jockey is a term used in talking about a black person. Most of those little ceramic statues placed in yards have their faces painted black.
Yep.
And they look like jockeys.
Yep.
Parentheses says guy that rides horse for a living. Hence the term lawn jockeys. Not overly racist. It just says like they're painted like blackface. It's kind of like it's not cool.
Yeah.
But then the sentence they use is look at all those lawn jockeys heading into KFC.
Right.
Racist.
Right. So
and
like
the second one,
the lawn jockey is an approximation of a black person in the same way that like Chief Wahoo is an approximation of a Native American. Like
yeah.
It's cartoonish. It's not at all flattering.
No. The second one actually says the Mexican crew that comes to mow the white man's yard weekly. I just hired me a lawn jockey for $25 a week. So
That's kind of worse.
It is. I'd heard of that term a long time ago in a racist connotation. Like somebody had told me it, but I totally forgot until just now. Literally, when you said lawn jockeys, the TJ got pissed. I was like, he really hates concrete men. Like, I was like so confused. I totally forgot about all that.
It's
and I was like, what's the issue, DJ? You okay, buddy? Like, did you
just,
get assaulted by one when you were a kid?
you know, it's so funny because like
Back into one's little fist.
So we live in Marion. Marion is a smaller, sort of a rural town in like outside of the city borders of Columbus in like Ohio. And my wife is a pastor of a church, and we've made friends there. We've been there for a couple years now. We've made some good friends in the church, and like most of the folks in our church are older folks. You know, like the average age is like 55, 60, 65, like in there. Most of them are retired. And, you know, one of the couples was like, hey, would you guys like to come over and have dinner at our house tonight? And we were like, great, let's do that. And like,
they had a lawn jockey.
We came over and like these are some of our favorite parishioners, right? You're not supposed to have favorites, but like these are some of our favorites. And dinner was great. And this guy is the kind of guy that like, you would want as your grandpa because he's funny. He's a good dude. He's like a tinkerer. Like he has all of these old. First off, he's got like a couple like super old cars, like 20s and 30s cars.
Yeah,
that are incredible. I'll show you guys pictures of them later. But like in his house, he's got all of these like sort of old like clockwork, just neat things. Like he's got a world clock from like 1918.
Wow.
So it's all like
that's really cool.
It's all you know, you open up the back of it, there's nothing digital, right?
Yeah,
it's all like clockwork and gears and stuff. And he's got like this little fake sort of, it looks like a snow globe, but it's a cage with a little bird in it, a mechanical bird that sings and like moves back and forth. Mm-hmm. And like it's the singing is like a little vacuum. Like it's so intricate and amazing.
It's
and
all handmade parts.
Yeah, he finds these things at garage sales and he fixes them up and then he puts them out and he thinks they're cool. And so like house full of all this stuff. We walk out and as we're leaving, I look over on the side of his house and he's got a lawn jockey. And that's not painted black. Like it's not painted at all. Right? It's just concrete. And like instantly my hackles were up because I understand because of the context in which I grew up, like what that actually represents.
Right.
And I'm talking to my wife about it as we leave and she's like, oh my God, like she got it too. And she was like, I can't believe that they would have something like that. And I'm like, neither can I. And they know, you know, it's not any kind of secret about like my heritage at the church. So like everybody knows, right? And nobody's ever said or acted like they had any kind of issue with it.
Well, no, because they're afraid you'll slash their tires.
And it's like, so really what we kind of hit on is like, this is what I've come to refer to as like unconsciously ignorant, right? So it's like, you don't even know what you don't know. And it's not an insult. Like,
well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Like they don't for whatever reason they've got that thing and they bought it because they were like, hey, look, this is cool. Like we don't like the geese, and we don't like the Paddington Bears or whatever other concrete items you could put out here. But like the little guy like holding the lantern, right? Like that guy looks cool, so we'll put him out here. Not even and like of course like Marion is like 97% white folks, right, so it's like who's going to say something,
right?
Right, nobody's saying anything. So they have no context for like why that would be offensive. And if I went to him and said, you need to take that stuff down, that's offensive, he'd look at me like I had antenna. Like what? Like what? Like what about it? You know what I mean? Like why?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I see why you're. I'm not going to say I understand how you're offended or what you're going through or none of that. I now get why that would be offensive for somebody having their yard to you. But if the other person honestly didn't know, for whatever reason, because honestly, like I vaguely remember anybody even saying that as a racist term. Mm-hmm. To me, when I see those,
right,
I don't even pay attention to the colors of them. So, and granted, I mean, of course, like you mentioned in last week's episode, I look like many different nationalities.
Sure, right.
But I grew up, everybody's like, yeah, he's white. Like, overall, I'm considered a white guy.
Right.
I check that box on the government form or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I never once looked at that as a racist thing. I looked at it as any other, as a concrete goose.
Sure.
So it's just,
and
to me, like, I would feel bad if I had you over and I had we called them yard jockeys.
Right.
Not lawn jockeys, but if I had one because I thought, I rent, so the previous owner left it.
Right.
Well, I ain't moving some big old concrete.
Sure.
And I left it. The GJ comes over and he leaves like, well, we're good enough friends. I feel like you'd be like, mother.
Yeah.
Like, what are you out there kicking it? Like,
do you?
Like, you would say something, and then I'd feel like crap not knowing. So it's kind of like.
See, now I'm going to go buy one so I can have it next time DJ comes over.
So
Put it right up by the road.
No, I'm going to put it right here.
So I was kind of glad that happened because I had never really interrogated that. It was offensive. It was offensive to me. But then I was like, all right, so like, what is offending you? Is it because these folks have one? Do you believe that because they have one, they are racist, or they're trying to like make a statement, or they're trying to sort of like represent something? Or is it that it exists?
Then that was going to be my question: is it exist?
Yeah.
Or is it offensive only when the face is painted black?
Well,
So
let me ask you.
I guess I was like, look, I've met these folks. I know these folks.
Well, you went to have dinner.
Right. They're not, and after a couple years of spending time around with these folks, there's nothing about them that is discriminatory.
Have you seen the secret room in their basement?
I haven't. That I can
That's just
determine.
a sex swing.
There's nothing that I can discern about them that would say that they have an issue, like it's sort of an ingrained issue.
You would figure
with people of color, but like,
well, you said that they know your father's black,
Right.
Your family, so you
Right.
figure if they had a problem, they
they
would
would have
like,
invited me
dinner.
over, right? Exactly. So,
I mean-
so the issue then is like, okay, well, I not that it's for me to do or not, but like in my own mind, right? I give them a pass, and I'm like, I'm not gonna. That's not something that I will hold against them.
See, that's why I consider you.
But I think that it sucks. It sucks that it's 2019 now, and you can still buy that shit.
That's fair. Now let me ask you that. Well, first off, I consider you a mental giant because come hell or high water, when it comes down to it, you can sit there and say, "Look, I think you're an idiot," based on the opinion you're giving on whatever the convo we're having is. Mm-hmm. But you can sit there and say, okay, let me look at myself and figure out why. So that, like, to me, that's something that ignorant people, or I don't know, foolish. I don't know what term I want to use. Can't take themselves out and go, okay, is it me?
They can't
Am
be
I
objective
wrong?
about it.
Yeah. So props to you for that. And the other thing is, like I said, I really didn't think of them as anything race till today. This is TIL, you know?
Right, yeah.
And when I look at them, because I've seen some of them with the faces black, some of them with not black. I've seen them unpainted. I've seen them with different colored outfits on. Mm-hmm. We always heard the term yard jockey. So the reason it's offensive is because the term lawn jockey was used derogatory towards black people back in the day. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that until today. Honestly.
Yep.
Like, it's one of those things, like, I probably heard it sometime in the past, but I've never heard anybody be called a lawn jockey. Like, my parents...
So they're not really
around we traveled the country growing up. So I saw people of all nationalities, all levels of finance and everything.
So there's a little more than just like the fact that they're called lawn jockeys. And
because I picture little dudes on horses
originally, yeah. So they're not really jockeys. They're just kind of painted.
Regular sized men.
Most of them are holding a lantern,
right?
And so they're really supposed to represent like the footman or like the house slave that would be waiting for you when you showed back up.
Then why are they dressed like a horse jockey?
Well, so like that's just kind of the way that they're painted. And also, if you're talking about like back in the days,
they're not painted like they're wearing knickers and a vest.
Yeah, back in the days of slavery, that's the way. So did you see Django Unchained?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what he like wore that crazy outfit that he wore.
Yeah. Okay.
With the like. Okay, so like
that's
he was.
He wore like clam diggers.
See, this all makes sense, but like every time I see one now, I can't remember last time I've seen one. I'm going to be like, yo, that's offensive. Like, my boy DJ don't like that. But every time I've seen one, I literally, like, the thought in my head is, oh, that's a guy probably about 5 foot tall that rides a horse for a living. Why has he got a lantern? Like that's the only thing
Right.
in my head.
Exactly. So they're really
that's on my ignorance. I learned something today.
Yeah, they're really supposed to represent like sort of like the footman that would wait for you to show back up. They would help you off of the horse or out of the carriage, and then they would go handle that shit for you while you went inside and did what like folks who own slaves do.
Did.
So, and like
You say do. Yeah, that's
did.
no. I mean, there's that stuff still happens in certain places of the world.
Sure,
so
right.
it just kind of made it real. You know, when you say, you just said without thinking about it, what white rich folks do or slave owners do.
Right.
I guess not even necessarily white, but slave owners do, and that is a problem in the world even today.
Yeah. So, sorry,
Not the horses,
like
maybe.
talk about
not
this,
the lantern.
No.
No, this is. I'm
got deep.
glad we did this.
Struck a nerve.
Well, I never knew. Like, I mean, I've heard. We always called it the yard jockey. That's what the term I heard. I never heard lawn jockey.
Right.
And the only time I ever saw him was in a garden. I even I had a buddy that in my fantasy league for years, like his fantasy football team was called the Yard Jockeys. And seriously, like looking at him, he's kind of like the folks you're talking about. Mm-hmm. It's always so cliche to say, but like I got black friends. Well, like he's just one of those guys that loves people. He's he's a people person. He loves Christ. He's the guy that'll give the shirt off off his back to help anyone in need. Like he's the least discriminatory person I know. And
I will too if I'm wearing 2 shirts.
His fantasy.
I would give you the shirt off Martell's back.
Well, that would cover half my torso.
I don't know. I mean, you could like put it on a leg or something.
Right.
Where does it? You wrap it around your
I was
arm.
gonna say wear it as a bandana, but yeah, he his team name for years. He's not in my league anymore. He has his own, but was the Yard Jockeys, not Lawn Jockeys, Yard Jockeys. But
Right.
I always pictured little dudes riding horses.
Sure. Right.
And
That's
honestly,
probably
most
what he
time
was
that
thinking.
in my
Yeah.
head, most time I pictured them as they're little white dudes. 'Cause
So-
as far as I've ever seen, most people that are jockeys are white.
Yeah, and you know, we
Kind of
actually
like hockey.
the first episode that I was on with you guys, it kind of came up because we were talking about like, baby, it's cold outside, and is that offensive?
Yeah.
And you know, like I think it bears repeating that like being offended about something is a personal decision that you make. Now you can like, you know, you have your knee jerk reaction. I saw that thing, I was like, you know what I mean?
After having a nice dinner,
But right, but
and
then-
seeing cool stuff in this guy's house, and then your
And
attitude just changed.
It's okay. It's okay to be snap offended by something, but like as long as you will then take the time to interrogate that within yourself and say, okay, so what about this is pissing me off, and is it warranted? Should I be? You know what I mean?
Right.
And
No.
and in this case, it was like, well, yes and no. It's okay for me to be offended that like you can still buy this. It's okay for me to be offended that you can still buy the rebel flag, man. Like, look,
Yeah.
when you lose a war, you don't get to fly your flag anymore. That's the way that's supposed to work, right? And like the
I mean, that's
fact
what it
that we
always has.
still see that today, and it's been over 100 years since that war was fought, and like
well over.
people talk about what it represents to them.
South will rise again.
Exactly, all that stuff like that makes me salty.
They say the South will rise again, but it didn't rise up in the first place.
yeah.
It failed.
It
But
failed.
so anyways, and then like going on like, okay, well, like, wait a minute, hold up. You know, take the time. Why am I mad about it? Am I mad for the right reasons? Am I mad? Should I be, is it fair to be mad at these people, or is it just the, like, sort of the institution of it,
Right.
like that it exists?
So let me ask you this then, since we're talking about
You should have taken a baseball bat to it immediately.
And then written him a check for $50.
Right.
I destroyed your thing. Here.
Sorry for your loss.
I'm going to pay you to be less racist, even though you don't know it. So let me ask you this: talking about lawn statues and Southern flags,
You
what
should
do
have brought
think
them a
about
Predator one.
tearing down the statues of Confederate soldiers?
Do
you think they should have been there, left alone?
So I'd like to sort of compare what happened after the Civil War in America to what happened after World War II in Germany. All right. So in both of those instances, there was a nation that lost a war and had as part of its ethos subjugation of an entire people group. Right. So with the Nazis, it was the Jews and lots of different people groups
mainly
actually.
the Jews.
But like that's the one that we talk about the most.
Right. The one that
and
everybody thinks of.
for the South, it was people of color, and it wasn't just black folks. It was like Latinos, Native Americans,
It
all
could
that
be
stuff.
Italians,
Right.
It could be Irish.
So But the difference was that in America, after the war ended, the South essentially it just went back to being like what it was, but it wasn't actually fighting anybody anymore. The Southern government that had been part of the Confederate States of America was basically absorbed into the United States of America, and the representatives and senators and governors and stuff, none of them changed.
Right.
Right? So like nothing about the South actually changed except that they couldn't own slaves anymore.
Right.
And they paid federal taxes. Right? So like so immediately the South went about trying to like make sure that its quote unquote way of life was not changed and that people of color still knew what their place was. Right? Okay, so we lost the war. We can't actually own you anymore, but understand it. You're still second-class citizenry here.
You're not.
So what did they do? They immediately put up a whole bunch of monuments, like within 5 years. Like they put up a whole bunch of monuments to the Confederate generals. Right, the rebel flag was actually becoming part of the state flag of like Mississippi and some other places.
It was integrated into other designs.
There was no actual change. Like the slaves were freed, but they weren't free.
They could be free people,
right?
But they were not equal people,
right? And in Germany, once the Germans had come to understand sort of like what had happened, they went the absolute opposite. The opposite way. They tried to expunge all of the Nazi.
They tried to erase history.
Right. And then they've spent every year since then apologizing for it.
Yeah.
Right. They own it. Like there are some folks. I mean, there's some folks who still believe in the Nazi ethos that are unapologetic and will tell you that
Southerners.
it never happened. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of thing. But like as a nation, and specifically really since the reunification of Germany after the Cold War ended, they've tried really, really hard to sort of like there's no Nazi monuments. Like you're not going to find a statue of Hitler in Germany unless it's in some like Eastern German's basement.
Yeah.
Right. And like to me, it's like those monuments of Confederate soldiers represent traitors to the United States of America. Now, I'm not going to say that General Robert E. Lee was not an honorable man. I can't tell you that he was a bad man, right? He was fighting for what he believed in.
Have you done a lot of deep research on him?
But he was wrong, and it's okay, like.
I did a lot of research on Robert E. Lee when this came up because I didn't want to throw my opinion out because honestly, to me, if I say either way, leave the statues alone or tear them down, it's going to cause division amongst Americans, me, my fellow man. Mm-hmm. So my one opinion, my one thought was, well, if the statues are up, and we know these dudes were douchebags, it's one of the things that history will still live on and people will know who they were. Then those people can read about them, decide, and at least know that they did something bad.
Sure. And
if the statues are gone, it's a lot easier to hide that history. So that's
yes.
one thought I had. That's not me saying leave them up because of this.
Right.
The other thought is, like you said, they're monuments to guys that wanted to own people.
Right.
I'm not cool with that. So for me, I was kind of like, and I didn't feel like on social media that I could express that in a way that would not be taken out of context.
It's hard to do that, right?
So. But I did a lot of research because Robert E. Lee, when that statue, that was like the one that like seemed to get the most interest amongst my Facebook people. And I did a lot of research on him. And if I don't have it pulled up on my phone right now, and I don't want to misquote, but as I remember reading it, it's been a few years, that he did not want to fight a war at all, that he did not agree with owning slaves, but he didn't want to be with the Union.
Sure.
So he was fighting for something that he believed in, but he didn't believe in all of, which is kind of like when people say, I vote Republican, but I don't agree with this.
Yeah.
Or I vote Democrat, but I don't.
Right.
So when I really, I probably spent 2 or 3 weeks just researching Robert E. Lee because all I knew was what I was taught in high school or middle school.
Right.
And I come to find out that a lot of him and a lot of other people that fought for the South, because you read Civil War stories where brothers fought against each other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't like it. But it's like, in a lot of the Southerners that, when I read about Robert E. Lee was, okay, we're coming around our senses owning slaves, but obviously not all of them.
Right.
But he was one, like you said, he was an honorable man.
Yep.
And for me, one of my things, I hate racism. I hate abortion. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to. I just don't like, after losing 2 kids.
Sure.
It's hard for me to think of getting rid of a kid just by choice, just because I don't want one. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to sit here and say somebody else can make that decision.
Right.
I'm saying for me personally, I hate abortion.
Right.
So does my wife. That's how we feel. So there's some things that I don't like that really bother me. Mm-hmm. But if I have to vote,
sure,
for something else, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard.
Absolutely.
So I look at, with the statue thing, I kind of look at it as if we tear it down, cool.
Right.
Because a lot of those guys, even Robert E. Lee was fighting for the side, even if he didn't like slavery and he didn't want slaves, he was fighting that fight.
Right.
And he could have said, you know what, I'm just going to bow it all together.
Yeah.
So I totally get to take it down. The other thing is I want there to at least, I don't want to be able to erase history.
Sure.
Like Germany tried to do.
We're not trying to whitewash it.
So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I haven't lived the life that you have. It's certainly not your father or your ancestors, because I can't imagine what they went through.
Right. So it's interesting that you bring that up. I'll make just a couple more points sort of quickly here, and then we can move on. Talking about was the war about slavery? It absolutely was, but like a lot of the folks that sort of weren't so much into the slavery thing will say that war was also about states' rights.
Yeah.
And having the states being more independent from the federal government, that's not an illegitimate claim, but anybody who says that it was more about that than slavery just doesn't understand the people that were actually making the decisions.
Yeah.
A lot of the soldiers probably fought for that very reason, but because not every soldier in the Confederate Army was in the place where they could own slaves. Right.
Well,
so
most
it's
of them were,
exactly.
yeah.
So they were fighting.
They couldn't even own uniforms.
Right. So they were fighting for what they believed was liberty.
Yeah.
From an oppressive government trying to tell them what you can and can't do. Exactly. Yeah. So there's
which
that.
I kind of like that. I don't want the government telling me what to do.
Second, I don't know if you've been to D.C., but in D.C. there is a museum called the Holocaust Museum.
Oh, dude, that's one of my 2 favorite places I've ever been to in D.C.
I went and saw it when I was maybe 15 years old, and I'm 40 now, and I've
got images stuck in my head.
The impression, absolutely, the impression that I was left with there, and so and it wasn't necessarily just about the Holocaust, but it was also about Nazi Germany and World War II, in larger part, and so I don't necessarily believe that the Confederate monuments should be destroyed, but I think that if your town wants to honor those places, that's fine. But much like nowadays, you can't, restaurants don't really have a smoking section.
Yeah, we talked about that
right?
before. Yeah.
So because if I'm in the restaurant and you're smoking way over there, it gets here.
Right.
So if there's a Confederate monument in the park and my kid plays soccer and we're black,
yeah,
I'm not trying to see that Confederate monument, but I can't help it because it's just there.
Yeah.
So the Holocaust Museum isn't just there's not monuments to the Holocaust in America scattered all over the place, or at least not a lot of them, because some folks don't want to be reminded of that thing. And so if you were to put those things, take them out of public space and put them into a museum and call it this is the Confederate Museum.
Here are these people, here's what they did.
Right. And anybody who is interested in learning about that
you can go there
and pay, and they can choose to see or not see those things.
That's a good idea.
I totally am okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that.
Just you don't want it forgotten, but you don't want it thrown in everybody's face that.
But if you're a black man or a black woman and you're trying to raise black kids in Mississippi, and every time they go to school you drive by a reminder that this state actively combated your right to be a free American, how are you supposed to convince your child that they can grow up in a world free?
Yeah. And
have the equal shot, right? It's time for us to stop owning that in terms of as part of like what we're going to be going forward. Like we need to own it from like it was part of our past, right? And we need to like learn from it and then move on.
That's the key. Move on. A lot of folks are having trouble with the move on part.
Sure,
because some of them even go, "Yeah, that happened. It was bad, but that's not what it means to me," like you said. But they're not trying to progress to be better.
And then
like they're saying, "I'm still cool that it happened. And I'm cool that I can still, I'm a white male or female, whatever."
And then there was, there's
which always blows my mind because white folks aren't just one nationality. Like every white person I know is mixed with something.
Right.
Maybe it's a bunch of different lighter skin, Irish and German,
European type
whatever,
stuff,
But I'm sitting here going, guys, none of us are thoroughbreds.
Right.
So why hate somebody just because they're a different mix than you are?
Right.
We're all mixes.
Right.
Like we're all mutts for the most part.
The one last point I'll try and make is that like life is short. Life is short, and so like human perspective is short. And so like I'm 40 years old, and when someone says, "When was the Civil War?" I'm like, forever ago. Right? That was years ago.
Mm-hmm. Late 1800s.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So like an average human lives 75 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. So that means that like I'm 40, my dad is 70. He was born in 1949.
Okay.
And he married a white woman in 1974. And it wasn't really all that cool then to be a mixed race couple. And that was only 42 years ago.
Yeah.
That was within his lifetime. His mother...
Well, I was going to say within your dad's lifetime, when he was a kid.
Yeah, his mother grew up and lived through the Depression as a black person. She didn't have a right to vote. Right. And she didn't have a right to vote because she was a woman and because she was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Her mother was a slave.
Yeah. So
you're like we're basically like two old women from like the Civil War.
Well, here's what put it in perspective for me. My granddad lived to be 103.
Right.
On his own, lived at home, never had an aide. It was just one day he had a stroke and died. But up until the day he died, he'd get up, do bicycle kicks on the ground. He had he called it his tiny garden. It was an acre because he grew up on a giant farm, He grew up farming with horses and going out in the fields, working himself. They didn't have anything. But he was born in 1910. So he tells me of times before electricity. He didn't know what it was.
Right.
Now, was it invented? Yes. Did they have it? No. They were poor. They lived in southern Ohio, Adams County. He remembers the time he first got indoor plumbing. It wasn't until the 50s that he even knew what a toilet was, really.
Right.
So he's like, he tells me about his dad bought a Model T truck. They only used it for special occasions. His dad went to town with the horses one time, and he took it out, pulled it in the barn, and wrecked it.
Right.
Like my granddad that I knew, who just passed away, within the last decade, saw some of these amazing times. And then I go, okay, 30 years before his birth was the Civil War.
Right.
So for me, it really puts in perspective, like you said, of how close we are. Because my granddad tells me of all these advancements we made. He didn't even fly in a plane until he turned 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was just a little plane around Adams County. So he saw no technology, and he lived through the Depression. He lived through the World Wars. He lived through women's rights and all that. And this is stuff, like you said, it's very easy to go, oh, I remember reading about that in history class. Right. And we like to pretend, man, that happened so long ago. Like, what? Get over it. People always say, well, you're not, nobody owns you as a slave, or nobody. And it's such a BS way of being a douche.
Right.
It really is, because my granddad was born in 1910, saw people treated unfairly. He lived in southern Ohio. He was pastoring at one point 3 churches.
Right.
So and as far as I always saw from him, he was a dude that just loved people too.
Right.
He was a good Christian man, hard worker on the farm, and I never once heard anybody say anything ill of this guy in any way.
Right.
But I look at his life and go, it was not that long before him that people were fighting for that.
Right. And the idea that in 3 generations we could completely eliminate hundreds and thousands of years of that ideology from our nation is like comical. It's what I expect.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's what I expect, but it's not a reasonable expectation, and I'm willing to admit that. So like,
and it's sad that it's not, though.
Yeah, I mean,
it really is.
you would hope that like we'd have been past that by now. But like, man, like in the course of human history, there have been, if you like drew a line and you said all of this is human history and it was a foot long, Like the first 11 inches would be like, actually like the first 11 3/4 inches would be like time when slavery was cool. You know what I mean? And the last 1/4 inch would be like time when slavery is not
maybe
cool.
even, I would say even like an 1/8 inch.
Right. I mean, it would be.
Slavery is basically. Slavery
size.
goes back to biblical times. We know.
Well, before that,
even before that,
absolutely.
That's what I was going to say. And even before that,
I mean, you got
since the dawn of time, basically,
the Romans had slaves.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's before biblical times. Yeah. I mean, you go back even before then.
But anyway, yeah, I would say the whole roller, except for that last 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, because. And it's kind of cool to say that we're living in a time that we've made such an advancement.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, why did it take this long to understand, hey,
that's not okay.
Owning somebody and treating them like a pack mule is not a cool thing to do. Like, that's what irks me about it, is that people can still even act like it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually fascinating the time we live in, because we're getting to experience it right now. And people argue. It's just like the wall argument.
Right.
Everybody wants to keep Mexicans out. I'm like, mofos, we came into their country.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I get the debate now, and but yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that things are changing. I'm glad that steps are being taken. But you're right, it's not happening fully, and it's not happening quick enough, I don't think.
I feel like it's good. I feel like it's good that that the expectation has changed. Right. I feel like it's good that I'd say by and large, the majority of folks in America have come over to this side of the expectation of slavery is bad and racism is bad.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe in like everybody's going to define that differently. You know what I mean? What racism is and is not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I understand that. But like if you took like a Southerner from the deep South and you just asked them the question, is racism a good or a bad thing? Like in an honest moment, they would probably say it's not a good thing.
Right.
Now, they might actually act in a way that doesn't necessarily like
show that
might like belie that. But like, the fact that like it has only been 3 generations, and as a nation, we've all kind of got to the point where I would say that the majority of us, the expectation is that this is bad and it should be eliminated is a hopeful thing to me.
Yeah.
It's a hopeful thing.
And I like the fact that you've brought this up, and obviously we had no idea we were going to go to this kind of a discussion, but my favorite, I shouldn't say my favorite, I do find joy in it. Maybe I shun it. It's a guilty pleasure when people say we need to get back to the good old days, especially people my age or younger. Or I had a middle-aged woman one time say we need to get back to the good old days. So my question is, what was the good old days? They picture the scene from the 40s or 50s where everybody's having a picnic. It's Pleasantville.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you realize that if you were alive then, you would not have the right to vote?
Right.
Or you would not be allowed out of the kitchen. Like people say we want to go back to the good old days and don't realize that they themselves,
not that good.
They weren't. If you weren't loaded rich and white back then, like even if you were white, you could still the Depression.
Right.
I mean, obviously it was better for them than other nationalities and stuff, but people don't realize that we are probably in the best days of America.
My good old days were running around a tree playing with Hot Wheels.
Last week. Thursday was fun for Martel. But honestly, the media skews things so much, and then social media that definitely doesn't help with the divide that is being caused in our country.
Pre-internet.
But right now, we're having some of the best advancements in technology and civil rights, and freedoms and liberties. People don't want to admit it, but if you look back to our past, we've gotten better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Maybe not as fast. Maybe some of the stuff's still being acknowledged that shouldn't be. But everybody keeps talking about the good old days. I'm like, somebody show me where they were, because we've got it really good right now overall.
Right.
Is it perfect? No. But we're making moves to get better. So, I mean, for me, it's just, I don't picture good old days when I look back. Just looking at our history as a country. Not even my personal, I'm saying overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, because if I look at my personal, it's way different than yours.
Sure.
And yours and
you
everybody
else. Your own
so.
context, right.
Yeah. And the internet has helped and hindered as far as that goes. I mean, if you look at how the internet has shaped the world as we know it now, it has helped spread information, but it has helped spread false information at the same time. I mean, it is used as a tool to kind of...
Another good talk for another good episode might be like the discussion of like whether technological advancement has outpaced social advancement.
Yeah.
Right. Like how is the technology shaping our social sciences now as opposed to what you believe and forming like what you do. So maybe not.
Some people just use it.
my head.
Some people just use it to read headlines and not actually read the articles.
That's what I do. But I've done that for.
What?
I do that even in the newspaper.
But you guys
Speaking
are so
of
like
episodes, how-
enlightened and informed. I couldn't believe it.
We're way over time.
I was like, wait a second. I just saw it the time on his phone when he hit the screen. I was like, oh.
Yeah, we're way over time.
Well, we apologize.
I think it was a good discussion, though. I think discussions like this need to happen more often.
They do.
So if you're listening right now, do one of two things. First, be willing to have the discussion. Secondly, be willing to do like DJ does. And if something offends you, don't react. Chill out and think about it.
Oh, yeah. That's...
You know, it's especially on Facebook, man. Stop typing. Think of it first. I mean, unless you're trolling, then go on.
Well,
In the words
even in
of,
trolling, think about it because...
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously you don't need to be a racist troll.
Was it the guy who does Inside the Actors Studio, and they had those like public service announcement commercials a few years ago? It's like, are you getting ready to send a picture of your penis to somebody? Before you do, give it a ponder. And it's like him stroking his beard, and so like there's this guy in the gym, and he's getting ready to send a text message as he gets out of the shower, and then all of a sudden he looks up, and he's got a beard, and he starts stroking his beard, and like the beard is obviously fake, and just like appeared on his face, and he's like. And then he's like, delete. And they're like, and the guy's like, good call, Tim. It's like, I think that, like, really, like, I think that, like, the whole, probably the whole of the world, but definitely
So you're
America could, like, use.
Stop and think
like,
before you
take
make
the
yourself
old, like,
look like a giant penis.
Give it a ponder. Just give it a ponder. Just let it marinate for a second before you react.
You said we're way over. We half hour over?
We are, at this point, like 10 minutes over.
Oh, okay. That's not as bad as I thought. All right, we should just wrap it up then.
All
we're
right.
only 10 minutes over. We can end it there, I think.
And the next episode, I promise, my stories will be much more funny.
But I like this episode. This might be one of my favorites.
This is a good one. So, all right. Anyway, that's it.
So,
like, share, subscribe. Thanks for listening.
Over him. Thank you so much.
I will just delete everything that Randy said.
That's fine. Delete my track. Well, I thought you were just going to say, like, I thought there was going to be room, and he didn't pause, and that's on me.
He just kept on
I
rolling.
read that wrong. I was just going to say, last 2 weeks we learned that Supra's not a supercar, and racism's bad. We are educating folks.
This is important.
Racism's bad?
This is important stuff we're
Mark
doing.
was like,
here,
wait.
folks.
Wait, hold on. I didn't learn anything. So I should buy a Supra, call it a supercar, and put a lawn jockey in the passenger seat.
Hood ornament.
And on that bombshell, our hero exits. Stage left.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. Think about things before you do them.
Try just loving people, even
Be
if you
awesome
don't like
to
them.
one another.
Give people hugs.
Oh, I'm going to hug you so hard. You and that
Hug
cute Hello
random
Kitty shirt.
strangers.
Well, I'm gonna go get a drink while y'all do that.
And next time you're out, go out for a walk. Just go lick a doorbell for 3 hours.
And get picked up for petty theft.
No, don't steal anything. Just lick the doorbell. That's just good.
Anyway, see y'all later.